a gaming PC last year, which was a pre-built machine, which a lot of people were like, why'd you buy a pre-built computer? I'm like, what the hell's wrong with a pre-built machine? I don't have to build the entire machine, because I really didn't feel confident building my own computer, so I just decided to go with a pre-built machine. But over time, I started to realize where people were coming from, because I paid $1,000 for a pre-built machine, and I kind of got robbed and didn't realize it until very recently. So being a console gamer my entire life, I didn't really know a whole lot about specs. When I got that computer a year ago, I didn't even know what the difference was between a CPU and a GPU. I was completely clueless about specs and what was considered powerful, what was considered underpowered. I just assumed, well, I'm paying $1,000 for this computer. It's twice the price of an Xbox One X, so I assume it's twice the power of a console, right? Yeah, that's not what ended up happening. So let me tell you guys what my specs are, and you guys are probably going to laugh at me, especially those who are very familiar with PC gaming and are really familiar with like what are good specs and what are bad specs. So this was a really weird build, and my CPU was an Intel Core i7-8700, 3.2 gigahertz, a 6-core processor with 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. So far so good, right? But then we get to the GPU. I had an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 with 3 gigabytes of GDDR5 VRAM. Yeah, that's very underpowered. I don't know what I just assumed that it was powerful enough. I mean, if I'm paying $1,000 for a computer, I assumed that I didn't know anything like about GeForce, GTX, NVIDIA, AMD. I didn't know anything about any of these graphics cards. I didn't know what the difference was between any of them. So I'm just like, whatever. I pay $1,000 for it. I assume that I have enough power. But the GPU performance for a few games ended up being terrible. So I was able to run most games, but especially like within a year, a lot of the new games just ended up becoming like either unplayable or I was barely able to run it at very low settings. I think the VRAM was really the thing that was holding me back. 3 gigabytes of VRAM is just not cutting it, especially in 2019. But I was running Doom at 20 frames per second on the lowest settings, 720p. I had a 1440p monitor, and I was running games at 720p. And I wasn't even getting 30 frames per second with a lot of these demanding games. So at one point, I'm like, I need to get rid of this 1060, and I need to just figure out how to replace the graphics cards and put a new one in. I mean, it's still a lot easier than building a new machine from scratch. And yeah, I kind of felt like I was ripped off because a year later I'm already upgrading a $1,000 PC. But of course, with pre-built machines, it works a lot differently because if you just buy the parts outright, it's a lot cheaper than if you're buying a pre-built PC because there's labor involved in making the PC and they have to make a profit. So that's why pre-built PCs obviously cost more. But I just didn't feel confident building my own. In hindsight, I probably should have just decided to make, but I just didn't have enough confidence. I was a console gamer my entire life, like I said, and I felt like I had no business trying to build a machine by myself. I felt like I would have been way in over my head if I decided to attempt anything like that. But I'm like, you know what? I need a new GPU. I hear that installing a graphics card is supposed to be the easiest part in computer building, so I'm like, what's the worst that can happen, right? As long as I don't start a fire or anything like that, I'm very smart. I unplugged everything, and I made sure everything was off before I installed my new GPU. And by the way, my new GPU is the RTX 2060 Super with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which ran me about $400, so that's more than the price of a new console. So yeah, I did all that. I made sure I wasn't going to cause a fire at least, so if I was going to mess anything up, at least I wouldn't burn the whole house down in the process. So all that was taken care of. Removing the actual GPU, removing the 1060 was very easy for me. I just unscrewed with a small Phillips head. So I unscrewed the GPU. I unplugged the PCI Express cable from the GPU. But then I started to have a mini heart attack because I noticed my old GPU had a 6-point slot while the new one had 8. And then I realized that the actual PCI Express cable built into my power supply was 6+2, so it could work with 6, it could work with 8. But for like a few seconds, I was like, oh shit, I just bought a GPU that was incompatible with my build. Once I figured that out, though, I was very relieved to know that the new GPU was compatible with my power supply, because that would have been a serious problem. So I didn't plug it in just yet. First, I had to fit the GPU into the slot, and it didn't fit. Oh man, it didn't fit. Comparing my new GPU to the old one, I realized the new one had a different slot from the old one, and my heart sank. Oh no, I bought an incompatible GPU. So the power supply was all fine, but I bought a GPU that had a completely different slot from my old one. Why didn't I do the proper research? I just wasted $400 on a brand new GPU that I can't even use. So I'm just like having an anxiety attack at that point. I am just like really, really upset with myself that I was stupid enough to buy an incompatible GPU. Same price as a new console, even more than a new console. And then a half hour later, after taking a closer look at the PCI slot on the GPU, I realized there was a plastic sleeve on it. Yeah. and that's why it didn't fit. So I proceeded to just break down in laughter at my stupidity. Like, I literally just, like, I was sitting down, like, trying to work on this computer, and then I took off the plastic sleeve. And then as soon as I realized that there was a plastic sleeve on the whole time, and that's why it didn't fit, I just literally collapsed on the floor and broke down laughing at how fucking stupid I was. That I didn't realize there was a plastic sleeve. And I thought that my graphics card was incompatible. So, yeah. I know, you guys can laugh at how fucking stupid I was, not realizing that there was a plastic sleeve on it, and that I should have just removed it. Like, that's why you need to read the manual. It came with a manual, but I'm like, screw it, I got this. I watched like a couple of YouTube videos. I got this. Yeah, no, I didn't. It took me a while to get it. I finally got it, but it took me a while. And then it took me another 45 minutes to install the GPU, because I realized that it was compatible with my PC, and that the PCI slot, like, it was compatible and everything. But I went, like, so gentle trying to fit it in, because I was afraid of damaging the PCI slot, that it just wouldn't fit, because I didn't put enough force into it. Because I heard from a few people from a few YouTube videos that if you put too much force into it, that you can damage your PCI slot and your GPU. And I did not want to do that. I was so paranoid, because I've never done anything like this before. I wanted to take my time and be careful with it, and try to put it in gently and not try to apply, like, a lot of force into it. So I literally spent over a half hour, 45 minutes, another 45 minutes trying to just, like, fit it in. But I knew that, like, because I tried to fit in my old GPU just to, like, you know, to make sure that the new one wasn't too big or anything, and I couldn't fit in the old one in either. So I knew that I was just, like, fucking retarded. So eventually I just put enough force into it that I fit the GPU in. So it literally took me over 2 hours to install a GPU. And it's the easiest thing that you could possibly do. I mean, some people build entire PCs in half the time. And it took me 2 hours to install a GPU. Yeah. Oh, but the story doesn't end there. So then, once I actually got the thing installed, everything was working fine. I was just like, I was so paranoid at that point. I was, like, so scared that once I booted up the PC with the new GPU, that, like, my computer would just explode and blow up for some reason. Like, I was just, because this is something, like, I've never done before, so I wasn't comfortable with it. But then it comes to uninstalling the driver. So I saw a couple of YouTube videos that said you should install DDU, which is Display Driver Uninstaller, which pretty much cleans out the previous drivers from your last GPU, and then you can go to NVIDIA's website and install the new drivers. For some reason, maybe I was just being stupid, I don't know what happened, but DDU almost, like, bricked my PC. Like, I had nothing but a black screen. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I almost had to, like, do a factory reset for my entire PC, because it just wasn't booting up. Once I like, launched the cleaner, like, to clean out all the old drivers, my computer just, like, spazzed out, and I thought it was done, honestly. Like, I'm like, oh no, I gotta do a factory reset, because I had to do a factory reset a few months ago, because I decided that I didn't have enough. This is another funny story. So I have two drives. I have two hard drives, right? I have 120 gigabytes of SSD, which is where I put like my photos and some of my basic files like my web browser and all that stuff. But I install my games on my 1 terabyte hard drive because I don't have enough space to install that all obviously on my SSD. So what I decided to do, because I actually eventually ran out of space on my SSD because I just had so much crap, and no, it wasn't porn, I just had so much stuff on my C drive for some reason, that I just decided, okay, I am going to copy Windows. I'm going to copy Windows and paste it into my D drive, which was my hard drive that had more space in it, so I can make up more space for my C drive, and then delete all the files in my C drive. So my computer got all messed up. I had to do a factory reset. I had literally like 500 gigabytes worth of stuff installed, and I had to completely wipe it out to get my computer running the right way again, because I am just an idiot. Oh, man. And I probably shouldn't have shared that story, because that just made me seem even more stupid than I already looked like this entire video. But hey, eventually I got to where I gotta be. I go from running Doom, like I said, 20 frames per second, 720p lowest settings, to running it at 1440p, 144 frames per second at max settings. So I couldn't be happier. I'm very happy with my new GPU. But it was a funny story. I just wanted to share with you what it took for me to get there. That it was a process. It was my first time installing any type of hardware or any machine ever. I mean, I've never done anything like this before. But it was a great experience, and I hope to one day build my own computer by myself and be at that point where I gain enough confidence to do that one day. I really do want to do that. So, yeah, I just want to make this video just so you guys can laugh at me and how much of a fucking retard I am. Hope you enjoyed. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you later, unless you all unsubscribe because you realize, like, how fucking stupid I am, and you shouldn't listen to anything I fucking say on this channel. Because I probably have, like, a fucking double-digit IQ with, like, just the stupid shit that I've done. Anyway, hopefully you guys stick around. Hope you all had great holidays. I got 2 more big videos coming for the year 2019, so stay tuned. And that's about it. Hope you all have a great day.